National Scout Jamboree is a gathering of thousands of scouts held once every 4 years. Youth from all over the nation and the world gathered to experience this unique event. The Jamboree has been hosted at various locations since 1937, most notably at Fort A.P. Hill in Virginia. A permanent high-adventure Jamboree site was established at the Summit Vector Reserve in Almost Heaven, West Virginia in 2013. In addition to all the great high-adventure activities awaiting you at the 2023 National Jamboree, there are also world-class stage shows, camaraderie, and opportunities to propel yourself forward to becoming the best version of yourself. You'll experience hands-on exhibits that explore the ecosystems of the ground, the tree canopy, and the sky at the Sustainability Treehouse. Learn a few things about a trade like welding, or test your skills with robotics and experience other state-of-the-art exhibits. Get hands-on education about the natural world and how we interact with it at the Conservation Trail at the Summit Center. Or relax at your base camp, cook up a great meal, rock out, and make new friends from across the country that'll last a lifetime. And, of course, you'll experience some of the best patch trading opportunities in all of scouting.
Scouts, are you ready to live scouting's adventure?
And there's no shortage of entertainment at the summit with world-class stage shows and, of course, fireworks.
I'm the Scoutmaster of Troop 402 in Miamisburg, and I'm also the Scoutmaster for the Boy Troop for the 2023 National Jamboree for our Miami Valley Council. Rochelle Zabindin is the Scoutmaster for the Girl Patrol. We're looking to have at least one patrol of female scouts heading out to the Jamboree as well. Tonight, our goal is to, let me turn my camera on, I just realized that's turned off. So our goal tonight is to, well, one, answer any questions that anybody may have and try to, generate some interest in attending the Jamboree. This is our third Zoom meeting. We've been using that format over the summer since a lot of units are, if they are meeting, they're, at summer camp or preparing for summer camp or other activities. And so as we proceed into the fall, into the beginning of the school year, we may be looking to do some more face-to-face promotional meetings to generate interest for the Jamboree. Our goal is to have 36 male scouts and 8 female scouts as part of our contingent. That would be a total of 50 people once we incorporate the adult leaders, and that does not include the staff members. We have 6 or 7 or 8 of our adult leaders from the Miami Valley Council that have already signed up to be part of the support team out at the summit for the Jamboree as well. So we'll be well represented once we get our contingent formed. So I'm going to bring up a PowerPoint presentation, and I'll try to share that with everyone. So please bear with me for just a moment. Can everybody see the PowerPoint presentation? It's a blue background.
It looks good.
Yes.
Excellent. All right. So if you were listening to Mark and I chatting before we started here, Kirk Perkins, who is the lead of or the chairperson for our council Jamboree planning committee, is usually give this presentation. He was running a little bit late from work. And so I'm going to do my best to go through this presentation, and please ask any questions that you may have. I recognize a few folks that are on tonight, Lucas and Corbin, who are scouts from my troop, Troop 402, that are both already signed up for the Jamboree, and a couple other names that I didn't recognize, so Nikki and Michelle Fleming. So please, fire away with any questions that you may have, and we'll just get started from here. So this chart is just kind of, the kickoff here for promoting the idea of the Jamboree. It's an adventure. There's multiple adventures that you get to experience at the Jamboree. And as we go through the presentation, hopefully we'll touch on what some of those adventures are, and kind of get the juices flowing and interest in going to the Jamboree. So the Jamboree is held at the Summit Bechtel Reserve, which is the 10,000 acres of property that the National BSA organization owns in West Virginia. It's the new home of the Jamboree. It's also somewhere where units can go for summer camp, and there's all kinds of other programs and training events that are held out there through the year. Many years ago, before the Summit, Jamboree was held at a variety of places, most recently at Fort A.P. Hill in Virginia. But the Summit is a dedicated property that has the dedicated facilities for the Jamboree. It's in the New River Gorge area, so if you've ever gone whitewater rafting, the New River Gorge area is a popular destination for whitewater rafting. Whitewater rafting is one of the experiences that we as a contingent can choose to participate in. And as we form our contingent and start talking through options, opportunities, and finalizing plans, we'll talk more about some of these extra opportunities, such as whitewater rafting. Our plan is to travel from Dayton down to the Summit. It's roughly near Beckley, West Virginia, if you're familiar with where some of the interstates run through West Virginia. About 5 to 6 hour drive. Our plan will be to arrive early on the first day of the Jamboree, which is the 19th of July 18th or 19th of July 2023. We'll be in that local area, and as soon as the gates open on that first day of the Jamboree, we hope to be near the front of the line to get checked in and into our campsite and get everything set up to kind of kick off the next 10 days of adventure and fun. So this map just shows the kind of an overview of the Summit area. The part that's highlighted in blue or outlined in blue is the part that is used for like summer camp, for example. I think some units from our council, in fact, went to summer camp out at the Summit this year. And then when it expands into Jamboree mode, if you will, the areas in the orange and the Ground Mountain area open up and become part of the Jamboree experience as well. So like I said, it's a 10,000 acre property. It used to be a coal mine, I'm told, so it's been reclaimed and updated, and lots of facilities and different adventure areas have been added to support high adventure opportunities for Jamboree and other camping opportunities for units throughout the year. So Jamboree is one of those once in a lifetime type of experiences. In a 10-day period, you can kind of do the things and experience the things that like to think that are what scouting is all about. It's testing yourself, it's experiencing new things, it's meeting new peoples, and a Jamboree in that short 10-day period will kind of bring all that together for you. We've had Jamborees for many, many years, approaching 100-year anniversary. The first one was back in 1937. I don't recall where that was, but we've been doing Jamborees for a long time. And like I said, it's one of those once-in-a-lifetime type of experiences that, once you do it, if you have an opportunity, you'll want to go back. And if you're unable to go back, it's something that you'll talk about for a long, long time. So it's, throughout Scott, I know in my experience, there's a few things that we do in my troop all the time, because those are those kind of once-in-a-lifetime experience, very unique. Not everybody gets to do it, and this will be those types of memories as well. So it's the experience of a lifetime, and this chart just shows some of the different things that you'll be able to do. There's canopy tour, which is the upper left-hand corner. There's a skate park. There's zip lining. In the lower right corner is patch trading. I think we'll talk about that a little bit more. The lower left corner, you see people walking. I think that picture is actually from a World Jamboree from a few years ago, but the setup and the concept is the same. And we will do a lot of walking, so that's something to be prepared for when we're at the Jamboree. There's also the stadium shows, and so in previous Jamborees, there's I think 2 or 3 nights while we're there where there'll be a stadium show. So there's an amphitheater, if you will, where all the scouts will gather. And years past, there's been national level type of entertainment. Previous presidents have come to speak to the scouts there. I know President Trump was there in 2017. I think there was a year where President Bush came. One of the Bushes came. President Bush's came, and he actually had to reschedule his trip because of bad weather on the original day. And he spent hours there walking around and meeting people. And if a president isn't there, sometimes they'll send a video message. They are very, very busy people, of course. And then fireworks shows. So it's just kind of a end of the day kind of culmination of excitement, getting everybody together. Years past, there's been tens of thousands of people at the Jamboree. I think for 2023, the expectation is more like 15,000. It's going to be a little bit smaller scale. First Jamboree coming out of COVID. The World Jamboree is also next summer, so there's a little bit of conflict with that as well. That's in Korea a little bit later in the summer, so certainly there's going to be some U.S. scouts that are committed to doing that as well. But a little bit smaller scale, but 15,000 people is a lot of people, and it's going to be a great experience. So patch trading, that's one of the very popular activities that goes on at the Jamboree. You can see in the picture, as scouts, we probably have bags, Ziploc bags full of patches from the different things that we've done. I know I do, and it seems like just about every activity you get a patch, whether it's summer camp or a camporee, or there's special council shoulder strips for different types of activities. So trading those patches that are unique with other scouts is a very popular activity. Scouts will take the cots out of their tents and kind of set up a table and kind of market their wares, what they have. What we'll do in our council, at least our plan right now is we'll have some unique to the Jamboree patches that each person in the contingent will get a set as part of their registration fees. But we'll also have extra sets available for purchase, and so you can trade patches with other scouts that are interested in the same thing. And it may not sound like a big deal, but from what I understand, it's a very, very popular activity, to the point where we have to be careful that scouts aren't spending their entire day trading patches and not experiencing some of the other things that happen at the Jamboree, the things that they're available for them to do. So We're in the very early stages of planning and designing our patch for our council. We're leaning towards something with an Air Force Museum theme. 2023 is the 100th year anniversary of the Air Force Museum, so there's a tie-in there. But we're in the very early stages of working on that together. And we do have we'll have a rule where scouts trade with scouts and be careful about who you're trading with and those kinds of things. And we'll talk about that as we move through all of our preparations leading up to the Jamboree next summer. So adventure sports. So Jamboree is all about adventure. This chart just shows 4 of the options that we'll have an opportunity to do. You can see there's a picture of a skate park. Shooting sports is very big. There's archery here shown in the picture, but there's also rifle shooting, shotguns, black powder, and all taught by very experienced adult leaders in those areas. There's a climbing wall or climbing center, as you can see in the lower right-hand corner, and they're doing some free climbing, bouldering in that picture as well. And then I mentioned whitewater rafting earlier, so we'll partner. The Jamboree organizers will partner with private outfitters in the New River area, and if we choose to participate, it'll be an additional cost, but we will it'll have an opportunity to go whitewater rafting. If you've done whitewater rafting before, you know how exciting it can be and how it gets the heart pumping. If you've never done it before, it's very exciting and it'll get your heart pumping. So it's a lot of fun. And I just was in the New River Gorge area just a few weeks ago whitewater rafting, and it was exhilarating to. It probably doesn't do it justice how much fun it was. So something that we'll talk about as a contingent as we move forward. There is an additional cost, and I'll talk about the dollars and cents here before long. But just note that the whitewater rafting experience will be in addition to the other costs that we'll talk about here in a moment. So the Summit Center is kind of the heart of the Jamboree. So this is one part that Kirk does a great job explaining. It's very conservation friendly, composting toilets and things like that. The bridge that you see in the middle of this slide has a name that I apologize that I don't remember what it is. If anybody that's online here knows and can share, that'd be great. But this is kind of the center area of the Jamboree. I think this is an area where if there was an interest in doing merit badges, so it's not all about some of the high adventure type things that we've seen on previous slides, but merit badges are also available. It's not meant to be 10 days of only working on merit badges, and we don't know a lot yet about schedules and stuff. We really don't know anything, but we want to strike the right balance between doing merit badges and participating in some of the activities. And like I said, there's lots of walking, and you'll see people walking everywhere, including over this bridge. So there's an aquatics area. So this shows there's some kayaking. There'll be, I believe there's scuba, paddle boarding, swimming. So the kind of the typical scout type of aquatic adventures. There's 2 lakes on the property, and this will take place in one of those lakes. One of our council requirements for being part of the Jamboree contingent is being a first-class scout. There's several reasons for that, but one of those reasons is if you're a first-class scout, we know that you've at least passed the BSA swim test at the swimmer level at least once. So, and as we get closer to Jamboree, we'll decide if we need to do some additional swim tests or not, just to make sure everybody is safe when they're participating in the different aquatics activities. And like I mentioned earlier, when we talk about aquatics activities or adventures at the summit, it does not include the whitewater rafting. That's an add-on to our trip. would occur during that 10-day window, but it's an additional cost. So I did talk about merit badges on an earlier chart. So there's lots of different merit badges. There might be 50 or 60 different merit badges offered. What makes these merit badges a little bit unique is that in most cases, if not all cases, there's experts in those areas. If you're working on wood carving, you're going to have an expert in wood carving teaching that class. If it's first aid, you may have a medical doctor or an EMT or a paramedic teaching first aid. So it's a completely different experience, taught by experts in the different areas, as opposed to summer camp where you've probably all experienced situations where the staff is very, very capable, but they don't have the depth of knowledge and experience that that some of these experts that we'll have at the Jamboree have in the different areas. So, and as we learn more, of course, about these different merit badge opportunities, that's something that we'll communicate with the contingent, as we'll be meeting on a regular basis once we really get rolling here in the fall. So camp life, there's free time. There's going to be time for you to socialize, outside of participating in different activities. The bottom picture is from a Jamboree a few years ago. I think it might have been 2017. I know my troop ended up with a lot of these tents with the red rain flies after the 2017 Jamboree. But there's established camping areas on the Jamboree property, and we'll have a designated area for our male troop and for our female patrol. That group will get combined with other similar sized units. Everything is centered around a group of 40. So we want 40 scouts and adult leaders to be together, whether it's camping where tents are set up, or all the meals and the portioning for meals and packaging is around having 40 people to feed as well. So 40 is a kind of a magic number. For the upcoming Jamboree, the 2023, we purchased tents for our contingent, and the cost of that is incorporated into the overall cost that we're asking every member to pay. The tents shown here, I believe, were part of the national Jamboree fee in 2017, and that's not part of the package for 2023. So tents is something that we're providing for the contingent, so people won't have to bring their own tent, or we don't have to look for unit tents to bring. And we like to have some amount of a uniform look, and so these tents are all the same, of course, and we'll be getting those in the spring, and at one of our contingent meetings we'll work on setting those up so everybody knows how all the pieces fit together and everything. So then the other part of that bottom picture kind of shows the dining area. Each troop will have a dining a rain fly and all the cooking things that are needed to prepare meals every day. There'll be breakfast and dinner are typically prepared in the campsite. Lunch is kind of a grab and go type format. So when we pick up our food, our meals each morning at the commissary, we'll pick up lunch for everyone as well. And the idea is you'll carry your lunch with you. It's by design meant to be unrefrigerated, non-perishable type items. And as you're wandering around the summit, going to different activities, when the mood strikes you to have lunch, you don't need to be anywhere special to have lunch. You can sit down, with members of your patrol, of your troop, or the new friends that you're going to make, and then enjoy whatever the lunch is that day. I haven't seen any menus yet, but again, one of those things that we'll share once we know more. And like most scouting activities, the staff will be well suited, well prepared to handle any special dietary needs that anyone may have. So, plus I think there's opportunities to if you didn't get quite enough for lunch on a given day and you need a little pick-me-up in the afternoon, there'll be the trading posts and those types of things. If you bring a little bit extra spending money, you'll be able to find snacks and that stuff as well. So our troop gear will include all the things that we need to spend 10 days, camping, and prepare our meals. And we'll have, just like you might on a troop camp out, we'll have patrols, and we'll have duty rosters, and everybody will have different roles and responsibilities, and to help make sure that we're getting food is picked up and food is prepared and cleanup is done, and those typical type of things as well. In the middle picture, there's a scout band. I'm not sure if they have auditions or how they actually form the band. So if you're a musician and feel comfortable bringing your instrument with you to the Jamboree, that's something that you can do. And again, as time goes by, I think we'll find out more and more about these different activities that are going on. So that was just kind of a few charts about the summit, about the Jamboree, to hopefully just kind of pique your interest a little bit. If you were to go to the National Jamboree website, which I believe is jamboree.scouting.org, I think you'll find videos and all kinds of kind of promotional information to really get your interest up for attending the Jamboree. So now I'm going to shift gears a little bit and talk a little bit more specifically about our contingent, the Maumee Valley Council's contingent. And please answer or ask any questions that you may have. So we have a planning committee. The council formed a planning committee. This chart just shows who the members are. The core members are the adult leaders who have leadership roles in the troop and the contingent that's going to the Jamboree. So as I mentioned at the very beginning, I'm the scoutmaster for the boy troop. Mr. Oxrider, Harry Oxrider, is one of the assistant scoutmasters. Rick Normile is an assistant scoutmaster. We have what they call the third assistant scoutmaster position. I think it's open right now. We're looking to recruit a young adult, someone who's in that 18 to 20 or 21 year old range to fill that role. We've found in past Jamborees, someone in that age bracket is a great kind of liaison and interface between the scouts and the old time adult leaders such as myself. And so we're working hard right now to find someone for that job. And then for our girl contingent, Ms. Zabinden, Rochelle Zabinden, at the bottom of the chart is the scoutmaster, and Dr. Perkins at the very top is the assistant scoutmaster for the girl patrol as well. So all of us were selected actually to attend the 2021 Jamboree. There was a somewhat rigorous process to select us. At the time we were all interested in going to the Jamboree. We all had to be interviewed, and so we just didn't randomly end up being selected for a role, an adult leader role. There was somewhat of a structured and organized selection process to make all that happen. And then some of the other folks that are part of the team have been to Jamborees in the past. They've have a lot of experience and advice to bring, and so we rely on them to kind of keep us on the straight and narrow as we're moving forward. And we've been meeting about once a month for the past 3 or 4 months now to start building up our contingent. Recruiting members is probably our top priority right now, but we're also starting to work on some fundraising. We'll talk about that here in a moment, and some of the other things that are a little bit long lead items. So when we get to the early in the next calendar year, we're positioned to really hit the ground running, leading up to this time next year when we'll all be in West Virginia. So our contingent, we're looking to send 50 total people from the Maumee Valley Council to the Jamboree. So that does not include the staff members. And I think I said earlier, we had 6 or 7 adults, additional adults who are signed up to go work at the Jamboree, whether that's in an activity area, an adventure area, especially if they have some unique qualifications to do some of those jobs, shooting sports, for example, or a lifeguard, something like that. But also there's lots of behind the scenes things, working on meals and in the commissary, and it takes a lot of people to pull off an event like this. And these adults from our council, are part of the team, and they're committing their time and money, because they don't get paid to do this. In fact, they have to pay to go do this. We appreciate that effort as well. But our contingent this year, like I said, we're looking for 50 total. We're looking for 36 boys, 8 female scouts to go, and we have a minimum number of leaders for each of those groups. You can see 2 adult leaders for the female patrol, 4 adult leaders for the boy troop. And this year we're also able to not only take scouts that are less than 18 years old. You have to be at least 12 by the beginning of the Jamboree next year. And but we're also able to take young adults. There's a kind of a group of people, a group of scouts who, because the 2021 Jamboree was canceled, they didn't get to experience the Jamboree. They maybe aged out later that year or the year after. And so, because of COVID, they weren't able to go to a Jamboree. And so this year we're able to include that young adult kind of category of scouts as part of our contingent. And the nice thing is although they're adults, and we have to follow the youth protection rules that would apply to adults, they get to participate in the activities just like they were a scout. So it's kind of an opportunity for that group of scouts that didn't get to go because of in 2021 because of COVID. So if you have older siblings that have aged out in scouts but still are 20 less than 21 and want to go to Jamboree, things are open to them, and they can participate in all the same things that every other scout is able to do. So right now we're in the very early stages of forming our contingent, and we're hoping that will really take off once we get into the fall, and everybody's kind of back in scouting mode. They're done with summer vacations, they're done with summer camp and all the things that go on over the summer. So this chart just talks about eligibility. So you need to be an active or have a current BSA membership. You need to be registered with your unit. You need to be at least 12 years old by the start of Jamboree. Must be a first-class scout. I talked about that. Be approved by the local council. So we're just there's a step in there where we just have to check to make sure everybody is meets the eligibility requirements. There's some for minors, of course, we have to have parental consent and that type of thing. This will require the full 3-part medical exam, the part that you would take to summer camp or to another high adventure opportunity that is signed by a doctor or other medical professionals. You need to pay your fees, of course. We'll talk about that here in a moment. And then participate in training. So once we get rolling here in the next month or two, our plan is that we as a contingent will meet monthly. And I'll talk about when the first meeting is going to be, and then as a group we'll decide when we'll meet moving forward. But we want to get everybody together monthly. It's an opportunity to get to know each other. It's team building. We're going to be structured like a troop. You're going to elect the senior patrol leader. There's going to be patrol leaders. There's leadership positions just like you have in your troop right now, and we'll be working on filling those positions. There may be some training involved. So attending those monthly meetings is very, very important. I know how busy everyone is, not only scouts, but with whether it's schoolwork, sports, band, all those different things competing for your time. And so we'll collectively try to find a time that meets the schedules of the majority of the members of the contingent. And then for those young adults, like I mentioned earlier, there's some very similar requirements. We want them to participate in the training. They need to be registered scouts. So, if somebody has aged out of their troop, they're a college student, but they want to go to Jamboree, we'll have to get them registered as into the scouting program again, so they have a current membership, and we'll work through all those things as needed. Same medical requirements, etc. Same fee schedule as well for them, and the same fee schedule for adult leaders. We're all paying the same amount to go to the Jamboree. So adult leadership, I mentioned some of this already, who the leaders are for our group. We were selected actually for the 2021 Jamboree, and we're given the opportunity to continue. If there's any adults on participating tonight that are interested in going to the Jamboree, as of right now, there's really not any opportunities in our unit level type things, but there are opportunities on the Jamboree service team, where you can be on the staff, and that website here will take you to more information about what that all entails. And like I said, we already have 6 or 7 people from our council that have committed to be on the Jamboree service team. Most of them for the entire 10-day period. But the nice thing about the Jamboree service team is you could also just go for the first part or the second half of the Jamboree as well. So if you have to, if you can't be away from work, for example, for that entire 10 days, but you could be there for the very beginning or at the end, that may work out very well on the Jamboree service team. And there's, if you're on the service team and you have a scout that's part of our contingent, there will be opportunities for you to connect throughout the week. I believe the service team members will camp in a different part of the summit, but there's still opportunities to get together. So, okay, the cost. So right now we're estimating that the cost of going to the 2023 Jamboree, the Miami Valley Council, is $1,850. Other councils in our area are charging maybe a little bit more or a little bit less. I'm not sure how they're able to do it any less than that. We looked at our budget pretty hard and scrubbed it with the sharp pencil to keep the cost as low as we possibly can, and $1,850 is what we came up with. And that includes the lion's share of that is the national BSA fee, $1,285, and that's what it takes to run the Jamboree and run the facilities and maintain the facilities, and not all the staff is volunteers. There's going to be some highly trained and professional staff members as well. We'll get some things from the national organizations and in terms of patches and things like that, and that cost is $1,285. We'll be traveling to and from the summit via charter bus. We've already reserved a bus. We're all probably aware of how expensive gasoline is right now, and that's reflected, has trickled down to the cost of charter buses as well. That's diesel, which is even more expensive than gasoline. And so the charter bus is a little bit more expensive than it has been in years past, but we have secured a bus to get us from Dayton to the summit and come back and get us as well. I mentioned tents already, so we've purchased tents or ordered tents to support the contingent sizes that I mentioned on an earlier chart. The plan, as of right now at least, is to there'll be 2 scouts per tent. The adult leaders will each get their own tent, but they also will use that extra space to store contingent gear to keep it out of the weather. So it's not like us adults are going to have a suite in a hotel, and the scouts have the low cost hotel. The adults will have extra stuff in their tents to take up that space. I didn't mention it earlier, but cots are provided, and the tents are large enough to allow for 2 cots to be in each tent. There'll be some custom patches and t-shirts that will get made. Like I said earlier, we're working on the council strip design right now, and We'll have the scouts, I think, work on designs for T-shirts. That'll be something that we'll do at our monthly contingent meetings. Come June of 2023, we'll get together for a weekend. It's probably just going to be an overnighter. I think I have the date coming up on a kind of upcoming chart. It's in June of 2023, but we'll get together at Cricket Holler just kind of for one last get together, shakedown, camp out, make sure we know how to set up our tents, and we have all of our to-dos done before we depart for Jamboree just a few weeks later. And then I've mentioned we'll get together on a monthly basis. I'm really not we'll talk about fundraising here in a moment, and there's scholarship opportunities, through the National BSA organization. If anybody who's already registered wants to know more about that, please let me know. There's 2 windows for scholarships. One ends here in a couple weeks, but there's another window to apply for scholarships that ends in the end of December of 2022. So we are a little bit behind on communicating some of these things, but there's going to be some additional opportunities to apply for scholarships. And then in addition to the things that are part of your $1,850 fee, you'll need uniforms and all of your personal gear, of course. We'll talk about uniforms as we move forward. The optional whitewater rafting trips, I've learned in the past week or so, that's going to be, I think it's $150 extra on top of that $1,850. We'll talk about that as a group, who wants to go, who doesn't want to go, that type of thing. Then of course, spending money. There'll be opportunities for souvenirs, for snacks and that type of thing as well. The national fee includes all of the programming that goes on, the meals, there'll be a cot, some of the troop gear, dining flies, tables, stoves, etc. And then the participant recognition package, that's going to be some additional patches that we'll get from the national organization. We'll have some unique troop number assigned to us, and we'll get patches that reflect that we'll have on our uniforms. So I know that in Dan Beard, a neighboring council, just as an example, they're charging $2,000 for per participant to be part of their contingent, with the difference being they're also providing a duffel bag and I believe some sort of a day pack for that additional cost. We chose to not include those costs in our baseline fee here, and we're hoping that our fundraising that we're working on doing throughout the year leading up to Jamboree will help enable us to make some purchases of those types of things for everybody on the contingent. So to register for the Jamboree, the first step is to register on the council website. All the money for Jamboree is managed and collected by the council, and then the council will pay whatever expenses we have, whether it's making payments to the National BSA organization, if it's payments for charter buses or whatever it may be. The council will take care of paying those bills. And so if you go to the website that is shown on the chart here, and I think if you were to search for Jamboree on the council website, you would find this same link. You can register for the Jamboree, and at that time we collect a $250 non-refundable deposit. Once you're registered on the council website, we will the planning committee will then direct you to sign up on the national website. So you need to sign up in 2 different spots. An area that's sometimes confusing is just by signing up on the national website does not guarantee you a spot in our council contingent, because none of that money is collected through the national organization. We have a payment schedule to national that the council will make for us. Right now we have a lot of spots available on both our boy troop and our girl patrol. So, worrying about being put on a wait list or anything like that, that's not an issue at this point. That being said, I would encourage you to get registered as soon as possible. So one, that we know that you're interested in going, and we do have a kind of a payment schedule laid out, so you're not being asked to pay the entire bill at the very end. We're able to space things out. After the couple initial payments, I think it's every two or 3 months is when we ask for another payment. So we're trying to, we understand that $1,850 is a lot of money, and we're not going to ask for all of that in one payment. Of course, if you register at the very end of late spring of next calendar year, well then of course you'd have to pay a lot up front there just to get you caught up with everybody else.
Hey Larry, I did paste the link that's at the top in the chat, so if anybody who is attending is interested in getting the link easily, it is in the chat down at the bottom of your Zoom. If you go into the chat, you'll see the link that is listed above.
Thank you, Harry. So this chart just shows that fee payment schedule. So if at the time of your initial registration, the registration system should ask you for a $250 deposit, and then the next payment, or what we're calling the first payment, was actually due last Friday. We do have a little bit of extra time built into the schedule before we have to make a payment at the end of August to the national organization. So if you are signed up and haven't made that first payment, don't worry. There's time to do that. I'm told that the registration system should have prompted you or reminded you to make a payment. So I don't know if that actually happened or not. I didn't see an email for myself. If I didn't say it, the adult leaders are paying that same $1,850 to go to the Jamboree. So we have to make payments on this same schedule as well. And then you can see every couple months we're asking for an additional payment, with that final payment due in at the end of May. So that's a month and a half before we go to the Jamboree. We have to have our bill for the national organization or the national level, that 1285 number, paid by the end of March. So keeping up with your payments is important. So we're able to pay those bills as we go along. So, like I mentioned earlier, there's scholarships available. Scholarships are done through the national BSA organization. I think the maximum amount that someone can get for a scholarship would be half of the 1285 cost. Very rare cases they may provide a scholarship for that full 1285. But I think half of it possibly would be available. And if you were to apply for a scholarship before the end of July, then I think it's mid-September when the awards are announced. It's possible that you'll get, if you did apply, you get the maximum amount or some fraction of that, or you may be on a wait list depending on how much money is available at the time. And then there's another scholarship window that will end at the end of December of 2022, and then probably 6 weeks or so after that is when the awards will be made as well. So that would be mid-February of 2023. So, and we can talk offline if somebody wants to ask more about the costs and things like that. So contingent meetings. So I mentioned earlier that once we get moving and rolling here, as contingent is starting to form, we're going to start meeting on a monthly basis. That's one of the eligibility requirements to participate in these meetings. We're going to try to schedule them on a day and time where everybody can be at. There's a few things that are very important that we want everybody to be at. One is our kickoff meeting, which will be in October. It's the 9th of October in the afternoon. That's a Sunday afternoon. That'll be out at the K Lodge at Cricket. And that's for scouts and parents. Part of our mission in these contingent meetings, especially at the beginning, is one, for the scouts to get to know each other. We're going to have scouts from all over the council, and they're not going to know everybody. And two is we want your parents to get to know the adult leaders, and so we can start building some trust and familiarity. So parents are comfortable sending scouts, off with us on a bus trip, 6 hours down to the mountains of West Virginia for 10 days to participate in a variety of high adventure activities. So that's one of our goals for our contingent meetings, is to build those relationships, and we'll do a lot of team building and things like that. So when we get to time to go to the Jamboree, we'll be a kind of a well-oiled machine, as they say. In the spring, probably April, really when we can probably guarantee better weather, we'll be doing a contingent service project for the 2017 Jamboree. The service project was done in a local community in the Summit there in West Virginia, that area. In fact, I think they went and they painted playground equipment in a local community and something else. The local community, these are often kind of depressed areas. There's, that part of the country is very heavy in coal mining and things that just aren't as done as much anymore from a business type of perspective, and so they're kind of not a lot of money type of situations. And I know in 2017 that community provided lunch for the contingent, and for whatever reason, I think at the national level, a decision was made that the service project will be done in our local community. So we'll be looking for ideas at some point for a service project for our contingent to do to support an organization or organizations in our local community as well. And then I mentioned earlier, in June, we'll get together one last time for a shakedown camp out. That's scheduled. It's the 10th and 11th of June, again at Cricket Holler. A lot of details yet to be worked out. We have a campsite reserved, and again, we'd want everybody to be there. That's our last opportunity to get together as a group before we leave, and it's important for everybody to be there. Probably that first meeting in October, we'll talk about when, what's the best time to have meetings, if it's Sunday afternoon, if it's an evening during the week. I don't know what's best for everyone else, but we'll figure that out. So we have a fundraiser going on right now. Hopefully you've seen it. We've been communicating information about this fundraiser, through the different units in the council. Hopefully that information is getting passed on to the members as well. But it's a Little Caesars Pizza Kit fundraiser. We have our own unique website. It's shown on this chart, and that QR code will take you there as well. There's different types of personal pizza kits and some other Little Caesars products. There's a couple different cookie dough options, and we make $6 off each item sold. Things get shipped right to your door. If you order 2 items, the shipping cost is the same. It's when you start adding more, I think the shipping cost changes a little bit. And it's fundraisers like this that we want to, that we hope that are successful, and we hope will enable us to raise money without asking you to pay more, that will allow us to do the purchase duffel bags. So everybody has an identical duffel bag, or maybe we use that money to pay for whitewater rafting or something else that's not included in that baseline cost that we talked about earlier. So Mr. Oxrider, Harry Oxrider, who's on the meeting tonight, is our fundraising POC for our planning committee. And this is the first of what we hope are several different fundraisers that we'll have going on to raise money to help with some of the additional costs for the Jamboree. Now, Harry, is there anything else you wanted to say?
Again, I did put the link in the chat, so if you didn't want to type it in, or you didn't want to scan the QR code, you can click on the bottom of your Zoom and go into the chats, and the Little Caesars fundraiser is there. Please feel free to share our fundraiser with friends and family, other folks in your troop. Again, we're trying to get the word out to, again, raise funds to, supplement, as Larry had said, gear, activities, and things as we put our contingent together. So every little bit helps, and we appreciate anything that you can do to support our fundraiser. That's all I got.
So this fundraiser will end in about a month on the 14th of August, and we'll have hopefully have some other ones that will kick off about that time as well. So that's all I had prepared for this evening. Does anybody have any questions? I'm gonna stop sharing my screen so we can see everybody on the Does anybody have any questions?
Well, it looks like we've got Kirk here, so I didn't know if he wanted to share any of his experiences from.
We can start over, and he could do a much better job.
I don't think he wants to start over, but.
No, I want to apologize. I'm not sure if everybody knows who I am, but I'm actually a veterinarian, and in the medical field, things aren't always scheduled. And we had a little Yorkie that got bitten and his eye proptosed, which means it popped out. So I was busy popping it back in, and it delayed me a little bit tonight. And hopefully Bo will be feeling okay after that. So that's why I'm a bit late. No, I made a couple of notes. I think Larry, you did a great job going down through, and I just wanted to share kind of a couple things. In the history of the Jamboree, this Jamboree actually has some similarities to the very first Jamboree that was scheduled in 1935. In 1935, the first National Jamboree was scheduled at Washington, D.C., but there was a polio epidemic, and the president actually decided, they had quarantines because polio was such a disfiguring disease with children, and that was canceled. So that Jamboree was moved 2 years later, 1937, and held at Washington, D.C. So obviously we've had COVID, and our Jamboree's been canceled and moved 2 years. So that's a very similar thing. Fortunately, not as severe as polio, but and that Jamboree was actually held on site. And the tradition of a service project started then. The Scouts did service projects in the Washington, D.C. area, and that's kind of been a tradition throughout the year to do service. The 2013, not the 2017 Jamboree, the very first one at the summit, which was the one that Larry was talking about, where we went out into the West Virginia communities, and each troop took a day to go out and do service. That was a very logistical, challenging event because we had to have buses to take the Scouts out, ways to feed them. Projects had to be lined up in the community. Community leaders had to work with national, and I think because of all that logistics, that's why they rolled it in for us to do our own service projects here at home. That, however, of all the Jamborees I've been to, that particular service project was one that the Scouts truly was a highlight for them to do that. I did want to take just a minute and talk a little bit about security. I know in today's world, that's something that I think we're all mindful of. And Larry was talking about the Console Bridge, and that was the bridge he was trying to remember the name of. And that bridge kind of separates the campsites from the action center, which is the area where public can visit. So public can actually come into that core. If you have a troop that wants to visit, or sometimes families will come and visit, that's open to the public. Or sometimes families will come, they want to visit their Scouts, and one of our jobs is to kind of, as leaders, is to try to get them there so they can meet up with their family and maybe spend part of the Jamboree day there. But that campsite, those two big campsites, what we call A and B, are off limits to visitors, except if you're on staff. If you're working the staff at Jamboree, maybe in traffic control or medical, and you've got your credentials, they'll have a lanyard of credentials on the Scouts, so we know who's allowed to cross that bridge. They're allowed to cross and visit. And I know in past, when I've taken Scouts to Jamboree, many parents who are on staff will come into camp, visit off and on throughout the week, and that's an easy way to visit your Scout on site. This particular Jamboree is quite a bit smaller, and I think that'll make it a little bit better opportunity for us to do some activities that maybe on a large Jamboree you wouldn't. Like the zip lining is real popular, and that canopy tour is real popular. So I think because of a smaller group, we'll have a little bit better opportunity for our scouts to do those things. One thing I wanted to say about the Summit Center, which is this visitor area, which is also open to scouts. That's a really neat place. There's a lot of neat activities in there, from bouldering to the treehouse, which the treehouse is really popular because it's an about $11 million structure they built there, but it's all about sustainability and what we can do as people on the planet to protect our environment. And it's as you walk up through it, it's kind of a little museum of things that can be done, to protect our environment. It has interesting things like composting toilet in there. It has ways to generate electricity by wind and solar. Maybe the way we can grow plants, a little bit about nature. So it's a real popular place to go. And I know when we were out summer camp there a couple of weeks ago, the scouts were actually earning their sustainability and merit badge there. I don't think you talked about weather. Just so you're aware, the summit's kind of in the Appalachian Mountains, so a lot of times it's kind of chilly at night. It might get down into the 50s, but in the day it can get up to the 80s. So we have kind of some extremes in weather for the summertime of the year, and sometimes that presents some problems. You have to be prepared to be kind of warm have maybe a little fleece on at night or a little heavier sleeping bag. But during the day, you got to worry about dehydration and overheating. So part of what we'll do is try to prepare our scouts for that situation. Are there any other questions before I call on somebody? I think Jody knows me. You know me, Jody? Is Jody there?
Yes, I'm here.
Yes,
we do know you. Yes.
Okay. Jody, I took Trent. I don't know. Did I take him to the 13 or 17 Jamboree?
You took him to both national and world, so it was 17.
Okay. Oh, okay. So I thought what might be kind of interesting, because her son Trent went with me on these two different Jamborees. But what was your perspective on Trent's trip to the national or even the world Jamboree? How did you see that as a parent?
I would have to say it was probably life-changing for him. And we sent like a typical 14-year-old boy, and he came back a very mature 14-year-old boy. But just the people that he met and the opportunities that he had were more than, we could ever give him. So, he's talking about with the World One, planning a trip to Europe to talk to people he met there. And then even the national, just, like the president coming in, the patch trading was a huge thing for him. It, just a really awesome opportunity. And the leadership was great.
Thank you. I'll send you a check in about 10 days. No, I really enjoyed having both events with Trent, and he's a great kid. I mean, he was a great kid even from the start. But I hear that a lot from parents, as they get back, how their son changes. I mean, we've had some scouts maybe who are a little bit introverted, on that World Jamboree especially, where that was a real heavy push about trying to meet other people from different countries, understand customs, and make friends, sometimes with people you couldn't even talk to because they spoke a different language. And when you spend 10 days doing that, it really changes your perspective on yourself, other people, what some of the problems other countries face, what your country's like relative to other countries. So it's definitely a different kind of a Jamboree than a national, but it really, I heard a lot about growth coming off of the World Jamboree. The one in 2023 comes right after our January date on the, in Seoul, South Korea. And that particular Jamboree I think they're looking for about 780 U.S. scouts to make the trip from a jump off point out west. But the tune of that, I think that's around a $6,000 fee, which includes getting from your jump off point over to Seoul, some pre-train, touring and so on. Plus, that's a 10-day event over there and getting back. So that's a hard opportunity for a scout that's going to national to do. There is some provision to shorten, if you wanted to do both, to shorten the national just a bit, so those scouts could jump on and get into the World Jamboree. But both events are very unique, and we do the best we can to provide a really good time for these guys, and hopefully come back and have parents say just what like Jody said. And thanks for jumping on, Jody. I didn't mean to intimidate you, but I was excited to see that you might have somebody else that's wanting to go.
I say also, Trent really, when he came back, talked about the community service and how the area that they went to, they did painting and worked, painted lines and then worked on weeds. But he talked about how areas around us that he never really thought about those kind of areas, but they are similar, and getting to see that part of a community that, doesn't have the needs or has the needs, but doesn't have the means to take care of their, environment and their citizens. So that was really neat too, to see how that instilled him wanting to go out and assist in other communities.
Yeah, these, so Trent's project in the 17 Jamboree was Bluefield College, which is a very small community college. And these are coal mining towns, so like Larry was saying, their economy is very crippled. But just a simple thing. All we did was go out, kind of clear some weeds they had in around some of their college buildings. We painted some stripes and curbing for them in their parking area. And then they did a real nice tour. They gave us a real nice tour of their little college. And they have a little kind of like a program for like lab techs or a 2-year associate's type degree for medicine. They took us in and kind of introduced us to what that kind of program would be, what you'd have to do to get in, and what kind of things you would have as a job opportunity getting out. So I think it did also maybe open some of the scouts' eyes to maybe a vocation. I am kind of saddened to see that we pulled that out away from it. We have to do it locally, but I certainly understand the logistics of that, because there's a lot of logistics setting up. If you can imagine service projects for 40,000 people in the state of West Virginia over 10 days. So, any other questions, either for Larry or I or anybody? Okay. Can I ask the parents on there, how did you find out about this? Nikki, you've been bothering me. How did you find out about that? Is Nikki there?
I'm here. Yes. Can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead, Nikki.
Yes. Well, you sent me a link, and I got a link from our Scoutmaster as well. But as far as what I've been bothering you about, the
No.
fee, and I think it kind of answered it in the presentation, since the first payment was due July 15th, it's just lumping them both together. So if you register, it's an initial $500, unless that can be changed somehow. It's no other option. It's $500 or the full amount.
Yeah. And I thought I tried to express in your first email. That's your
that's what you thought.
That. But I can go. Patrick Higgins is the guy that's working on the professional side. If that's something that's too much, you just need to get the registration, I can talk to him and see if we can work that out, especially since our initial payment's been delayed a little bit.
Yeah.
Because I know you're jumping a bit later. So.
Yeah. All right.
Okay.
That would be helpful.
Alrighty. Anybody else?
I have a question.
Yeah.
So once we've registered, the only email we've received so far is just that he's been registered. Do you guys know when, we'll receive another one saying he's been accepted, or when we'll start to receive the ones about payments are due and things like that?
That, I guess that's a little bit beyond my control. Usually, the payment system is its own kind of email system. And generally, once we get into what's happened in the past, once we get the October meeting established, then we're going to generate probably like an email system to bring you abreast, or perhaps another. Sometimes we've used Facebook as a communicating tool, one calls. We've used different kinds of tools to communicate with the troops so we can keep you abreast of our meeting schedules and what we're trying to do. And I guess we'll have to, as a committee, get that acceptance process worked out. Our biggest concern, I guess, on is acceptance is there's a code of conduct that we need each of our scouts to live up to, and just making sure we're meeting the age and rank requirements by the start of the Jamboree. Those are probably the big things that we just need to check off. And we were talking about this at the committee meeting last week, and I honestly cannot remember a scout that we did not take to the Jamboree that wanted to go. And I've taken some scouts with special needs, maybe with Asperger's as an example, and we've worked through that and they've had a good time. So I have, and in the World Jamboree, I had some scouts that violated that code of conduct. And I asked their parents to come out from Illinois to pick them up and take them home. So the code of conduct will be reinforced or enforced, and your parents are to understand that and hopefully support us as we make decisions so we can keep the level of behavior we expect scouts to have at a Jamboree. But that's unusual. That's pretty unusual. So. Okay.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Well, I don't think, if we don't have anything else, I guess we can go ahead and break off. And if you have any questions, certainly my email's on the website. And I'll do the best I can to hopefully get back to you within 24 hours. And that's probably the best way to get a hold of me, especially in these busy summer seasons where we're pretty busy working with animals. Alrighty. All right. Thank you, everybody. Have a good evening. Let me